What's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video I want to look at the Play Arts Kai Vergil figure from the second batch of Devil May Cry figures. This one's actually better than the Dante that he came out with, so let's go ahead and get into it and talk about why he's better. He stands 10 inches tall, so normal size. Excuse me. He's just overall a great looking figure. There's not so many problems that the Dante had in terms of the glossy paint, so that's not an issue at all. And really any minor issues that there were with Dante aren't present here, so it just makes him a little bit better, in my opinion. Accessories first, he has the two trigger hands, which is kind of weird, trigger finger hands, because he doesn't have a gun, but those hold his swords just fine, so maybe they just made him look like that to give him a little more style. I don't know. Not a real big deal for me since he holds his two swords just fine, so it's okay. Then he has two of these open hands just for posing purposes. Obviously you can't hold anything with them, but they're nicely sculpted and fairly nicely painted, so he's got those. That's nice. And nice. This sword is also done very well. It's got the same shading that Dante's had. Nice sturdy plastic, great paintwork on the gold, sculpt work everywhere. Really nothing to complain about there. It's a little bent from the packaging. The packaging was kind of weird for these guys. They had these new packages, and the clamshell, or the blisters that they were all stuck into, they were all cracked up and kind of beat up because nothing fit in it very well. But I guess that's okay. So he's also got this katana with the scabbard with this nice gold work on there, and the tassels, or the ties that hang off there, really not usable because you could mess them up, but they're still fairly soft and flexible, so they're not going to get in the way of posing. And then of course the katana comes out, and it's painted very well, just like the other sword. So really, it's a really nice piece. The blade itself is nice and straight, but the handle's warped from the packaging. Little hot water will fix that right up. Nice detail work overall though. Though I have to say, a real katana's wrap doesn't look like that, so I don't know if it looked like that in the game or not. I really don't remember. But if it didn't, and they just added that in, then they screwed up. If it looked like that, then no big deal. It's been a long time since I played the game. So those are the accessories. They don't peg into his back anywhere, like we're kind of used to with the Devil May Cry figures, but that's okay because he can hold them very well, and they look great for posing. Let's talk about the paint. Overall, the paint's really good. There's a little bit of an issue here and there, but really not too much. There's no glossy issue with the face. It's actually one of the better Play Arts figures I've seen. It doesn't have really too much of that gloss going on at all, just a little bit, and that's okay with me. I know the eyes look a little dark, but I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose, so I'm okay with that as well. The hair is shaded nicely. The shading everywhere is done fairly well. It's not super obvious, maybe you can't even tell with this harsh lighting, but it is shaded nicely throughout. All the gold trim pieces are painted nicely, so everything's really solid in terms of paintwork. The white on the embroidery, I guess is probably what it is. Could have maybe used another coat, but it's still done fairly well. And I'm not gonna harp on it too much, because as you can see, there's really nothing wrong with it. It just could be maybe a little bit better, but still no big deal. All the buttons are painted just fine, the holes for the buttons. There's some shading, some blue shading on that inside vest. So overall he just looks really good. The brown's shaded nicely, and the inside of the jacket especially has some really nice paintwork on there. So paintwork's solid, sculpt is solid, everything looks really good. The articulation's almost identical to Dante's, except for the fact that he has a third piece to his coat, so it's got one of those extra ball joints in there, which you would think would kind of be obvious and in the way for the jacket when you don't want the coat blowing in the wind or whatever, but it's not. It doesn't stand out too much at all. Once you push everything down, sure, you have the seams there in the jacket to make him posable, but the top part of the jacket doesn't stick out nearly as much. It looks a lot more natural when you have him posed, so I'm pretty happy about that. The head has good range of motion, plenty of articulation. The only problem is it sits really high on the peg, and it has to. It's the way it's made. You can't push it down anymore, but you can kind of see a gap there if you're looking from the side. So you can hide it easily, but it is there. And the collar of the jacket gets in the way a little bit, but since it's soft, you can get it out of the way with relative ease. So really no problems there. The head's well articulated. The arms have the same articulation. They have that forward piece that lets it come forward. Then they're actually connected on a ball peg in there, so you have a little extra play. It's really stiff, but you do have a little extra motion inside that chunk of plastic that comes forward. Then it's a ball disc. So you have that piece of articulation, bicep swivel built in, single jointed elbow, but it's a ball disc, so pretty good range of motion, and it's ratcheted. It does rotate at the top and at the bottom of the joint. Same thing for the wrist. The hands just come right off. Give it a little twist as you're pulling so you don't break anything. Do it very gently. And that's the type of peg that the wrists snap onto. So really not too much risk in breaking those. Just be careful when you're doing that. So full range of motion in the hands as well then, since it's the same as the elbow. The upper torso joint is hidden very well with the vest, so that's much appreciated. At least for me it is. Hopefully you guys would like that kind of... Normally you get a really ugly diaphragm joint, but that one's done well. And it might be a double ball peg, it might be single, I'm not sure, because I'm not going to take it apart just like Dante, but you do have the full range of motion. His is a little less than Dante, but it's still more than enough, so I'm happy with that. Then the lower torso joint is a ball peg. It's a three-way ball peg, so there's a ball peg in here that comes down and then splits off for both hips. So this torso piece rotates on its own. Full range of motion there, even more than Dante's actually, which is fine by me. He's got the floating hip piece, which is soft, so it doesn't get in the way of any articulation. And it is split on both sides so that it doesn't actually tear when you pose the hips. The hips are on, not technically ball pegs anymore. This is new, I think. At least it's new for me. I haven't seen a Play Arts with this. They might have actually done it with Master Chief. I'm not sure. Don't remember. But either way, this is what it is. It's a ball disc that's ratcheted. So this part's ratcheted now. And it's also ratcheted this way. So full range of motion there. And it's nice and sturdy. And then, of course, the thigh rotates on that. So it's effectively the same articulation as before, but just done a little bit better. Let's put those back. And then the knees, same as always. They're the double jointed knees that have that really ugly, silly knee joint that I don't get why they keep making. But with this guy, it's fairly easy to hide. All you have to do is just use only one of the joints. And since he's got that boot cuff on there, it works fairly well, especially if you just use the lower part. Kind of like what I said for Dante, but this guy's got the extra boots on. So it just looks just fine having only one of them. And it's still going to give you 90 degrees. So that's fine with me, even though they're a little goofy looking. The ankles are the same as the wrist and the elbows, somewhat limited by this cuff of the boot down here, but still pretty good range of motion. It rotates at the top and at the bottom, so you get a little bit of an ankle rocker motion down there. Then he does have the toe cut joint like that. The one thing he, and actually Dante didn't have either, is a hinge in the toe. But that's okay for me because they're usually not sturdy enough to hold a figure up, especially a 10-inch figure like this. So that's just fine if you ask me. So overall, the articulation's pretty much the exact same as Dante's. The detailing, everything's on par with Dante, but he does have the nicer jacket, I think, and the nicer paintwork. Overall, it's a little bit less glossy and looks a little more natural. So it's a great figure. I do highly recommend it. Probably over the Dante, especially since we already have a Dante. This guy's a nice addition to the other batch of figures. And with his accessories, you just really can't beat it. So I do recommend it, guys. Let me know what you think about the figure, if you're going to get one. If you don't want to get one, whatever. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. Stay tuned for some more reviews and some other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.